The current headlines project a return to global stability. We see the choreographed handshakes, hear the promises to reopen trade routes, and watch as the stock market hits fresh all-time highs. However, within the specialized world of financial media, the tone has shifted. Outlets like MarketWatch have begun warning of a supply chain collapse arriving in as little as 30 days. These diplomatic summits serve as a final assessment of an adversary's resolve before a shift in military posture. While the cameras capture cooperation, the stock market is acting as a warehouse for capital, absorbing trillions in liquidity as a hedge against the currency's declining purchasing power. The projected failure of the U.S. logistics and fuel networks is the result of physical constraints that are already locked in. The sudden media focus on catastrophe suggests a process of controlled acclimation, preparing the public to accept rationing and price spikes as an unavoidable force majeure. These diplomatic and financial placebos keep the public focused on the screen, while the underlying architecture of their daily survival begins to fracture. The global trade routes remain closed because Beijing has no strategic incentive to open them. By supporting Iran's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, China uses a proxy to drain U.S. naval resources and extract wealth through high energy costs, without committing its own soldiers to the field. This proxy conflict provides the cover for the Chinese military to move. They are already executing customs and quarantine rehearsals around Taiwan, and they are rapidly pouring concrete to establish permanent missile batteries on the disputed reefs in the South China Sea. The U.S. military is responding by abandoning its reliance on massive, concentrated bases. In the opening hours of a Pacific conflict, these dense targets are vulnerable to ballistic missile strikes. Under the Agile Combat Employment Doctrine, the Air Force is spreading its assets across tiny, austere airstrips throughout Micronesia and Palau. They are now prioritizing survival through spatial distribution. The primary deterrent has shifted underwater. Fast attack submarines are surging toward the Philippine Sea to bypass the threat of hypersonic missiles that now target surface carriers. This military pivot creates what logistics experts call a middle distillate squeeze. As the Defense Production Act kicks in, the military will requisition massive volumes of JP5 and JP8 fuel for the Pacific theater. Because these fuels come from the same refined pool as civilian diesel, the local supply for trucking and agriculture will face an immediate and severe shortage. While the stock market reflects high liquidity, the bond market reveals deep distress. In the hierarchy of finance, the bond market is driven by mathematical reality, rather than the algorithms that move equities. This chart shows the 30-year Treasury bond yield. Crossing 5% pulls all borrowing costs upward, freezing credit markets. Thousands of corporations that survived on 2% loans are now hitting a debt wall, forced to refinance at higher baselines. Mid-sized businesses, including regional grocers and logistics companies, lack the profit margins to service a 300% increase in debt costs. Refinancing failures lead directly to bankruptcies, which halts the movement of goods. These bankruptcies trigger a rapid wave of layoffs for W-2 workers, destroying their income exactly as the cost of essential goods reaches its peak. Eventually, the stock market will align with the bond market. The data suggests that the physical economy is reaching a point where continued operation is no longer mathematically sustainable. As shelves empty, the media will deploy deflection strategies. You will hear accusations of price gouging directed at local businesses, or reports of foreign cyber attacks. These narratives mask the structural collapse of credit and fuel. Mapping public reaction over 90 days, Phase 1 brings localized hoarding and fuel outages. In Phase 2, diesel shortages hit trucking, spiking grocery prices and fracturing the social contract. By Phase 3, federal rationing pushes daily life into the black market. In a systemic crisis, fatalities result from the bottleneck at the exit. When a population reacts all at once, infrastructure cannot accommodate the demand. Survival depends on recognizing the signals before the crowds do. By looking past the diplomatic mirages and understanding the math, you can secure your position before the 90-day window closes.